Hi, and welcome back to yet another module in the series of online teacher education program. If you remember, we started with aims and objectives, and we had done holistic approach of education, in which we had done two modules. In that, one was on the approach, what exactly is holistic approach of education. Then we also discussed on how do we implement it. Then we went on to child psychology and the lesson plan system. Now we are back again with holistic approach, main connection with this, connecting back to the values, the ethics, the morals, which have become more important in today's classroom. So what do we do? Do we teach morals as a separate subject, in a separate time, or we integrate it with the main subjects? Every school has got its own methodology or philosophy, ideology, or a thought process on when it comes to the value addition to the main subjects. Some of the schools have value moral science classes as a separate class, but as discussed in the previous class, I personally feel there's not much seriousness taken into a moral science class. I have also seen that the regular practice of values is not being so effective when it is integrated with the subjects. So today we're going to talk about integration of values with the main subjects. Now, again, if you just go back for a glance in the prior knowledge of our holistic approach of education, in the implementation part, we had discussed six different levels. We started off with awareness, then individualization, then how the child is going to take the value across the family to the friends, and then back to the society, and then the last level being the national level, that is the state governance level. How the value which is learned he is going to make it more effective by taking it to the governance level. So those are the six different levels we discussed. Today we're going to talk about the integration of the values, how we add this with the main subject and why it is to be done. Now, for example, if we are teaching, I'll start with an example of how we integrate it with the subject. Because there was a process in the previous class we had discussed. You also had done an assignment on that of how you listing out 10 to 15 different values, making a plan for that 15 value. Like for example, if you have 10 months of schooling, you list out 10 values. Age appropriate values is what we had discussed. In the age appropriate values, we were talking about for the foundation years, we were talking about say water, cleanliness, respect to elders, then plant environment, nature, connecting with nature, sharing. So these were different values which we had discussed. So here, if I remember, some of you had written a value of how do we make sure that the child practices or respect to religion. At foundation years, it's really difficult. It's not a value which we really need to discuss at that particular age, because the understanding the concept of religion, it needs some time. So that was not an age appropriate value when you had written in that. So yeah, integrity, honesty, that you should not lie, can be a part of that. Save water, save electricity. These things which are very age appropriate have to be planned. That was one system. Making a plan and then implementing it every month. You talk about one value. Now here, if I'm integrating it with the subject, for example, if I take an example, let's say save electricity or save water. So how do we do this? There are two ways. Like in most of the textbooks today, every state, you take a state sponsored book, or you take private publishers. So when there is a chapter in the science textbook or an English, At the end of the chapter, they are very clearly defined. At the end of the chapter, there is a box, and in the box, they have defined a value of what value will the child learn from the lesson which is being just taught. Either the value is defined at the beginning of the lesson or at the end of the lesson. Now, let's say when we are taking the example of saving electricity, or if you're talking about oxygen, right, which is the most common requirement and which is the most necessity today. So how do we make sure that there is enough oxygen? So what is the value and what can be done? Like, you don't pollute the environment. You make sure that a lot of trees are planted. You don't cut down trees. So these are the different values which we talk about when it comes to oxygen and environment. But is it again age appropriate? Is something which we need to check. Now, when we talk about age appropriate, at a very young age, if you start teaching them on how to save water, for example, in your grade 1 or a grade 2 or a grade 3 class, if there is a lesson which is connected with rivers, or you're talking about water in grade UKG or LKG class, the foundation years, if you're talking about water, so it's definitely connected with rivers, lakes, and ponds. So this is a value which you take up in the very first month. You are listed down 10 values, and that automatically this is connected. In the first method, it is connected with the chapter, rivers, or it is connected with water in the textbook, and at the end of the text and the end of the lesson, I'm sorry, there is a value which is written that save water. Now we here, what do we start with? We talk about importance of water, right? We talk about not wasting water. We talk about not polluting the water. Like, you just can't throw garbage in the rivers. You can't throw garbage in the pond. You have a village, and in the village there's a pond. Every village has definitely there is a small pond in the village. Now, how do we make sure that the water is pure and clean there? So start educating the children. Now, you remember the six levels. We start educating the children and we take it to the society. That is the fourth level. Then we take it at the governance level. So if we start working on that, then importance of water is what we start talking about. Right? If you are going to drink, if you need to drink water, you in the school you walk up to the water filter spot, and you take your glass, and then you sit down, and then you fill the glass. You fill the glass in whatever amount of water is required for you to take. So let's start teaching them. You fill half of the glass and drink. If you feel you need more, then you fill another half of the glass. Because if you take a full glass of water, there is a possibility that you may not drink the entire glass of water, and then when you drink half and you throw the remaining half. That is one. The second thing is, you must spill over when the glass is full. If you are not able to hold it properly, and if the glass water spills out, you are again wasting water. So taking half glass at a time also is needs to be taught to the child. So then, if you if your school is in a village or a town and there is a lake or there is a pond, you need to teach children that when you go to the river side, when you go to the pond side, you cannot throw garbage in that. You cannot spit in that. You should not waste water, right? So we talk about this because the lesson you are talking about rivers, and at the end of the lesson there is a value which has been explained, and then you are teaching them. So this becomes a part of the lesson. Now the second methodology is, in the previous class I had asked you to list out the values, age appropriate values, and you listed 10 values. In that, if one of the value was save water, how do we integrate this? How do we evolve this? How do you make sure that you integrate with the subject and then start teaching with the subject? So how do we evolve? What do we do? How do we integrate with the subject? Because when we integrate with the subject, we are also making sure that we are teaching EVS, or we are teaching a poem and the poem is all about rivers, then we are talking about saving rivers and save water, and then automatically the lesson, the flow happens there. But in the second methodology where we are listed out, we are evolving it, we are making a plan of that, and the first value is on save water. How do we work on this? How do we make sure, because we also have to make sure that we assess them, whether that this value has been practiced individual wise, whether he's taken this value across the family, across to the friends, and then to the society. You need to assess and make sure that, see, remember I told you in the previous class on the same holistic approach of education, and we were talking about values, teaching values and then making sure that the value was practiced is more important. So how do we do that? There should be an approach. It has to be more creative. This is very important. You can't teach a value. Okay, children, we are going to learn about how to save water, and then you say one, two, three, four. You don't pollute the river. You don't pollute the lake. Then you don't pollute the pond. You take half glass of water when you're drinking. You don't waste water. When you are brushing your teeth, you open the tap and then leave it and keep brushing the teeth. That all these things you are listed it out. You have written it on the board. You are making the child write the notes, by heart the notes, and next day you conduct a test. Will this make the child practice? And can you see that practically in the life of the child that he's really saving the water? If he sees the tap on a roadside and it is continuously flowing, the child needs to realize that the water is getting wasted. He runs up to the tap, he closes the tap. Then, okay, yes, your effort of teaching him on how to save water is working. If it is not, then it is just learnt. And remember, knowledge, seeking knowledge, and if you're not utilizing it anywhere in your own life and for the society, that kind of knowledge doesn't have any purpose. It doesn't serve any purpose. So here, the child will understand that there is a natural process of water getting accumulated. Where do we get water from? There's a natural process. The rains come down, the evaporation happens. This is at a higher level, I'm talking about the science, but at the foundation level, you're talking about the rain, the clouds, and then the rain. The rain water is accumulated in the form of rivers and lakes and ponds, or even when the rain falls down, the water goes inside the earth, and then in the form of when you dug up a well, or you have a system, a borewell system through which you generate water, you pull water from the earth deep inside, then the water is coming out, and then we are using it for our daily purpose. We use it for drinking, cleaning, and washing, and everything. So the child is understanding that there is a process of nature which is getting involved in this. It's a nature's process. There's no control on that from our side. As human beings, we cannot control when the rain would come and when the rain would stop. It's a natural cycle. He understands that. The second is, he needs to understand that there is something which is there in his control. And what is that? He needs to save water. That is under his control. So if he is able to save water, then he is supporting the nature. This has to be understood by the child. So in the approach, what we are doing is we are making a plan, we are implementing it in the classroom, and then we are internalizing with the subject. So how do we do it? I'll share a project which was done by a teacher. And this is on, I'm moving away from one example to another example. The example is about how to save electricity. At the foundation years, you can teach them how to save electricity. And many times I have seen, when I walk across the corridors in the schools, I've seen the fans and the lights are on and there's nobody in the class. 3:30, 4 o'clock, when the children leave the school, the teachers also rush. They are in a hurry to go back home. They don't even bother to check whether the lights and the fans are off. Now the ayah would, the support staff or the ayah would come after half an hour to clean the room, and she would see everything is on. Finally, when she cleans up, then she switches on the light and the fans, and then she locks the door. Almost for about 30-40 minutes, the electricity was wasted. So the responsibility would start from the teacher. Then it goes on to the. Then it gets transferred to the students. So now what was the project about? I'll share an example so that you could take this example in your classroom. Now what our teacher did was on how to teach this value of saving electricity. It's because saving electricity is a part of saving, protecting the nature's natural resources. Because if you waste electricity, you need more electricity, and the government or the public sector has to generate more electricity. If it is a thermal power plant and a lot of mines have to be dug up, you need coal, you need water to generate electricity in a thermal power plant. That was something, again, we are wasting the natural resources. So how do you save electricity on your own, at an individual level? Making them understand. First part of the first level of implementing it in the classroom. You remember it as awareness. Creating an awareness of saving electricity is very important. So what the teacher did was the teacher asked all the children to get the electricity bills of that particular month. Every house gets an electricity bill at the end of the month. That is the beginning of the month. Between 1st and 10th of the month, the electricity bill comes. So the teacher asked the children to get the electricity bill. So all the 24 students in the class got the electricity bill. The teacher made a table, right? Name of the child and the electricity bill which was generated for that particular month. So there were different, the bill costing was different. One child had a cost of 4,000, one child had a cost of 3,000, one child had a cost of 2,500, because it depends on the different facilities each and every house has got. Some might have an air condition and the bill would have gone up to 4,000. There was a house which never had air condition and the bill was of 1,500 rupees. It varied. Now what the teacher did was the teacher started explaining practically the importance of electricity and how the electricity is generated, how the natural resources are to be protected, how you could save it. Remember, the value you're teaching needs to get practiced, and it has to be visible by the parents, by the friends, and by the society. So to make it visible, to make sure that the child is practicing it so that it gets imbibed in him, the teacher started this project. What did she do? She asked the children to get the electricity bill. She made a table and she told the children the importance of saving electricity. She said, see, when you're not there, when all of you are assembled and you're sitting down in a hall and you're talking and then you're watching television program or doing some work, the other rooms where nobody is there, you don't need to keep your lights on in that room. You don't need to keep your fans on in that room. Your mom is not working in the kitchen, then the kitchen light need not be on. You switch off the electricity, you switch off the air condition when it is not required. Or you keep the temperature of the air condition at this particular number. Find out from the air condition engineer what should be at what temperature should I maintain so that I could save electricity. So he says, okay, you keep it at 24 or a 25 or a 26 degree, then okay, then you could save electricity. You have a refrigerator cutoff equipment which could save electricity, right? Heater, right? You switch it on when you are supposed to get into the washroom to have bath. Just 2-3 minutes before you switch it on, then when you are entering into the washroom, you switch it off and then finish your bath and then come out. You cannot switch it. The minute you get up in the morning, you switch it on. You finish all your work. You go for a walk. You come back. You brush. You pull out your dresses, everything, and finally, after 1 hour, when you walk inside, imagine the amount of electricity which you have wasted because the heater needs only 5 minutes to heat up the water, but you've wasted 1 hour on it. So you explain it to the children and say, from now on, for the next 3 months, we're going to monitor the electricity bill. But before that, you need to make sure that you do all these things from today onwards at home. This is a project which is given to the child. You're not making the child by heart save electricity. You're making the child do certain things to make sure that the electricity is saved. So the child goes back home, and from that day, the child starts doing these things. Okay, there's nobody in the bedroom. Let me switch it off. Let me switch off the light. Let me switch off the fan. There's nobody in the kitchen switching it off. The morning he gets up, he's just 5 minutes before he switches it on. He waits for 2-3 minutes. The water is heated up. He switches it off. He goes into the washroom, finishes the bath, and comes out. So when he's doing all these things, the parents are watching him. The parent might know, what are you doing? My teacher told me yesterday that you need to save electricity, and we're not going to waste electricity from today. And please, you all make sure that you don't switch the light on and get out of the room. If you're moving out from your room, you're leaving a house, then you need to make sure that you switch off all the lights and the fans and the air conditioner and everything. Then the parent will understand, yes, the child is really learning something and the school is really doing something. So at the end of the month, what happens? The discussion in family is happening, right? The first thing is you created an awareness, the first level. The second level is individualized. The child went back home and then started switching off the lights when it was not required, switch off the heater when it was required. In the classroom, when the child was walking, the last child who walked out of the classroom will switch off the light and the fan and then walk out of the classroom. So individualizing. The child is personally doing it all by himself. Second day when the parents checks this, they also start behaving, they also start practicing, they also start doing all these things. The father, when he's moving out of his room, he switches it off. If he's not working on the laptop, he makes sure that the laptop is switched off. If you're not watching the TV is completely switched off. When he's getting into the washroom, he switches it on, the heater is on just 5 minutes before. After 5 minutes, he switches it off. Just 5 minutes, not even more than 5 minutes. Today's modern day heaters doesn't even take more than 3 minutes to heat up the water. So all these things. So what is happening is the value which you have explained in the classroom, you have discussed in the classroom, is now being discussed at home on the dining table. You see the impact what you're creating, right? By what? By just doing a simple project and not by teaching. Now once this is done, after 3 months, every month the teacher is asking to get the bill. Now from 4,000, the bill has come down to 3,000. You have saved 1,000 rupees. The bill which was 1,500 rupees has come down to 1,000 rupees. Now what the teacher did was the teacher started appreciating. The teacher started giving the awards to the children. Then here what happened, you worked on the 3 levels. You created an awareness, individualized so that the child practices it all by himself. He also made sure that the family members practice it. So the 3 levels which we had discussed in the previous class on implementation of holistic approach of education is getting implemented now, and you're seeing the results of that. So when the parent comes for a parent-teacher meeting, ma'am, thank you really, because the child has really understood how to save electricity. Now, what do we do to take it to the next level? That is to the friends level and to the society level and then to the state level. So what the teacher did was the teacher created a competition. Because in the classroom the friends are there, they are doing it. All the 24 of them are doing it. Now the child has got some friends in the society, in the neighborhood, they go to different school. The child was asked to get the electricity bill of the neighborhood, like 4 or 5 houses. And the child was taught, a chart was prepared, or the teacher asked the child to prepare on how to save electricity. And the child went to every friend's house and explained that this is how electricity need to save. Now let us start comparing. There was a competition which was organized and see who is going to get the less bill for that particular month on electricity. So when it was done, then you are taking it to the next level, the fourth level, that is your friend circle. So the child is learned on how to save electricity. He understood it. He makes sure that the parents understood it, the family understood it. Then he is making sure that the friends understand that. Next goes to the society. What did the teacher do? The teacher made a beautiful chart with the help of the children. The whole class made big chart and a big banner. They went up to a place in the town, a departmental store. They stood there and they started explaining on save electricity. If you don't have a departmental store in your village, you may take out a rally. You may visit, because in a village there are not many houses. You can visit every house with permission from the school management and take the children to every house, individual house, and start explaining on saving electricity to those who are in the village. Which school are these children from? Why are they moving out from house to house? Now, this children are from XYZ school. So there is branding happening of the school. There's no harm because you're doing some good work and you're getting recognized for it, right? So the children started visiting, and there you are actually creating an impact in the society. Remember, you learn something, and if you're not creating an impact in the society, then again, seeking knowledge is not doesn't serve the purpose. I remember a few years back, I had visited a very practical school. I would say probably probably only one practical school I've seen in the entire nation. The Digantar group of schools at near Jaipur. This is being conceptualized by Rohit Siddhankar sir, who's educationist and a panelist on NCRT, and also um, uh, uh, who's on board of Azim Premji Foundation, connected with education in Bangalore. He conceptualized it with his group of friends. When I visited the school, I remember the coordinator there sharing a few incidents when the school was started years back. They went up to each and every village, and then they wanted the children to come and join the school. The first generation learners they were, and they did street plays, and they showed the importance of education. And today the school is doing wonderful. If you get a chance, you should really visit or study. Go to the website and learn what are the different things which they do in the school, and make sure that the children learn for life, not for examination. So when I visited it, I was told that the children do street plays. And what is the theme of the street play? One example was the disadvantage of drinking alcohol. The children went up. They performed a street play. They showed what happens when a member of a family starts drinking every day, how he loses his money, how he loses his reputation, how he loses his name in the society, and how his family is on streets. I was really, one was surprised and I was also shocked to understand that there are a lot of antisocial elements which are off the villages. A lot of people have given up drinking. A lot of people have given up taking dowry. So all this is because the children created an impact of the values which they learned in the classroom. This is what you can do. You can conduct a street play of saving electricity. Your village, you have a small village. There is a center part of the village where it is a common. Every village has got a center, a circle, all four roads joining, or main bazaar point. And check when there is less traffic, and check when there are more people. You start asking the children to perform on saving electricity. A small play of 5-10 minutes in your mother tongue. or the local language. Explain the importance. Stand up near the departmental stores. Discuss. Go visit each and every house and start discussing. When this was done, that means you're taking it to the society level. The next level being the governance level. What do we do? Okay, make a parliament, let the children sit down and discuss on how to save electricity, come up with ideas. Okay, ma'am, let us introduce solar system. So now for solar system you can't put solar street lights. You need to approach the municipality, you need to approach the panchayat. So you make a memorandum, you visit the panchayat and give a request letter with a project and say, let us put solar street lights. You can also request, you can also visit if there's an industry near to your town and a village, you can walk up to them, talk to the head of the industry and say, in your corporate CSR funds, every corporate, every company has got to take out some mm, funds out of their profit and use it for the benefit of the society. So you can ask them to sponsor street lights, solar street lights. So when this is done, that means your students are taking it to the next level, that is the national level. So this is a science subject. This is a part of your language class, because you will start teaching them on how to communicate, how to approach, the role play is happening, English is getting in, the language is getting involved, Hindi is getting involved, Urdu is getting involved, the language, it becomes a part of the language class, it becomes a part of the science and the social class. It also becomes a part of the math class on how many street lights, what is the electricity bill, what is the save, define the difference between the last month and this month. All this is happening. I'll give you another example. No plastic. Use of plastic bags has to be banned. So they start from the school. Make sure that the school doesn't allow children to get plastic bags. They're getting snacks in the plastic bag? No. At the gate, make sure that somebody checks. So when it does, make sure that the child understand that there is no plastic bag. Then he goes back home, he tells, okay, let us not, when we go to the shop, please tell him, I don't need a plastic bag. I do that. So plastic bag campaign can be done. It can also become a school campaign. You can go up to the departmental stores, you can go up to stores, shops in the village and tell them, don't please give materials, don't give items in plastic bag. You can request all the children in the school to get some, get old clothes, get it washed. If there is somebody, a teacher in the school or some known parent who in the school who can stitch bags for you, get it stitched and start distributing these bags at the local level. So this is one where you could write a letter to the municipality and make sure that they implement it. Because as per the law, the plastic bags are banned, but still people use it in the shops. Now, as a responsible citizen, when you're teaching value in the classroom, you need to make sure that you take it across to the entire village, to the entire town, and start talking about it, so that every child goes back home and says, Dad, when they go out for shopping, do you need a bag? If the shop owner is giving the item, they purchase some biscuits and chocolates and everything, and if he is putting that in a plastic bag, the child will walk up to him and say, Uncle, don't give me a plastic bag. Now what do we do? Okay, I have a bag. Let the child carry a bag, a cloth bag, a paper bag. So he walks up and says, Uncle, don't give me it in a plastic bag. I have a bag of myself. Put those items in this bag and give it to me. If you just go back home, teachers who are young, go back home, talk to your grandmother and grandfather, your parents. When I used to go to a departmental store with my grandmother, I remember my grandmother used to carry 3, 4 bags. There were no plastic bags those days. So after everything was purchased, you used to put everything in the bag, put that in the auto rickshaw and then take it home. It was just purely cloth bags. gunny bags, jute bags were used. But today life has become more simple. So when you start talking to the children, you tell them the disadvantage of plastic bags. What happens when it goes under the soil? What happens? Okay, do it as a practical example. In the school campus, dug up, put a plastic bag in that, leave it for a week, leave it for 15 days, take it after 15 days, you again dug it up and try take it out. The plastic bag would remain as it is. You put a paper bag also, you put a plastic bag, you put a paper bag, and then after 15 days, the paper bag is not visible. The cloth bag has completely got mixed up. The plastic bag would remain as it is. Now, what happens? The same plastic bag is eaten by a cow, a dog. It doesn't get digested, it gets entangled in the intestine, and there are chances that the cow may die. So, when you get a plastic bag and when you throw it out on the garbage, it doesn't get evolved, it doesn't get destroyed. It remains same for years and years. Even after 1500 years, the bag you had thrown 1500 years back would remain intact as it is. There's no erosion happening there. So when children learn this, then they start individualizing it. Awareness is created, individualizing is done, the family practices it, the friends practices, then you write a letter to the municipality that this particular shop is using plastic bags which are being banned. Yeah, the owner of the shop will get angry on you, but no problem. You are teaching values to the children. So this is how you integrate along with the subject. Now, what do you do is you will have to prepare. You listed out 10 different values. Now, what you do is you take five values out of it and prepare five projects in that. Like one project I gave you on how to save electricity. Similarly, you need to prepare five different projects. One is no plastic can become a project, save electricity can become a project, save water can become a project. So, like this, you make five projects. This is your assignment. Write down what is a project, save electricity. How do you do it? Like I would get the children to get the bills. Then we stay, when then I would explain the importance of saving electricity. Then the child will go back home and do this, and then at the end of the month we get the bill and compare. And then if the bill is reduced, then I would give an award to the child. This is a project. So you prepare an entire project, and then we would go up to the departmental store. We would go up on. We take a rally and create an awareness of saving electricity so that it gets the value gets you creating an impact in the society on how to save electricity. So this is your assignment for this module. Thank you very much. I hope you will continue on the next on the same part on how we take it up further on the integration of values with the main subject.